Alright, what's up, YouTube and Twitch? Doing this recording live, but just want to go over a couple, different opinions about the current state of Delta Force with my buddy Minato. He also streams on Twitch and should be getting into YouTube here pretty soon there, right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
But we're probably going to do a couple videos on and off, just, us mentioning, talking about different things that we see with the game, different opinions. We'll get some other people in here to kind of, voice their opinion from new player perspectives. Also people who play like warfare mode, because we generally play just the operations. And of course, I appreciate all the bits, guys. Thanks. Now that you know that I'm doing this friggin' video, appreciate it. Anyway, so main thing is, obviously from my side, I'm no, god gamer. I don't no life games generally anymore just because I don't have the time. And I just turned 37, so I'm getting into that like old man status. But from somebody who's, I would say, a little bit above average on the gamer side, Delta Force has probably been one of the more fun experiences I've had with extraction shooters. Obviously played, Escape From Tarkov on and off for a while. Played Cycle Frontier, played Star Siege Dead Zone, and many other games. Minato, on the other hand, he is, well, you were what, Season 1, God of War, Operations. You've been pretty heavy on the Tarkov side. You've gotten Kappa, what, 2 times, 3 times now, I think?
4 times.
4 times? Alright.
Yep.
Holy shit. I myself have not ever gotten Kappa. I've played Tarkov since 2017 on and off, but never did the Kappa excuse me, Kappa quest. But
Last wipe, I actually got Kappa in 2.5 weeks.
holy shit. That's crazy. That's actually insane.
Yeah, I know life the fuck out of it.
So, on my end, basically putting in, we'll say, I don't know, maybe at least an average of like 2 to 3 hours at least a few nights a week, usually 3 or 4 nights. Same thing with like the streaming side. It's a pretty solid game. I feel like there's definitely a lot of improvements that they could make, especially for more of like the beginner players, casual players. One of which is, that gear cap that is supposed to be coming to easy mode, where it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's what, is it purple armor and blue ammo, or blue ammo? Yeah.
Armor, blue ammo, yep.
Yeah, so I think that would help. Especially with, the console release coming sometime in the near future, because just like with the Cycle Frontier, nobody likes to really sit there and get, completely obliterated by people running, gold or red armor with, gold or red ammo that's going to basically disintegrate you in a couple of shots.
Yep, I agree.
So
I believe we ran some red armor in easy yesterday, and that should not be allowed.
correct. Uh, so yeah, that side I think is going to help a lot with the beginners, the casual players, because it gives you kind of like a less stressed, environment in the beginning. I think what they could implement too is kind of like what Cycle Frontier started doing, where your first, say, like, I think it was like 3 to 5 games, you literally got into a lobby that was only like beginners, and it was like less teams, just to let you get a feel for the map. Like the loot and everything was the same, but you had only beginner players and less people on the map. I think even Arena Breakout kind of did the same thing, where the first like 2 or 3 raids that you did, it was, kind of like that beginner type lobby, so you get like a warm and fuzzy.
No, I think they do
Uh,
have that here, if I'm not
I am
mistaken.
paying attention to
Let me look
chat. We're just kind of
here.
doing like this
Let me look
YouTube
at this
video
stream and
thing,
tell you
so
what their
if
features.
I'm not
Yep, they said
responding
that
directly,
they
that's
have the
why. But
matchmaking that
I,
they
I
have
see you,
is
Hippo.
like separated
I
between one and
agree.
gold players. Now, with that being said, I have 1000% played with level 1 players. So I don't like I've duo queued and we've definitely queued with somebody who was level 1 in their first game ever to play the game. So I'm not sure if their matchmaking actually works as intended, but it's supposed to be there at least.
Well, and that's the thing. And this is the argument that you're getting from like the warfare side on Delta Force is that supposedly there's no skill-based matchmaking in warfare, but I don't know if it's due to like player account or whatever, but if you, at least from what I've seen from different like content creators and stuff like that, from watching YouTube videos and reading some stuff on Reddit and stuff like that, it's literally you're playing like the same people over and over and over again, and again, I don't know if it's because of like the player base right now, like the numbers, or if there is some kind of like hidden skill based matchmaking. But according to the developers, in multiple interviews, they're saying no, there's no skill based matchmaking. But then if you ask people who are, the grinders playing the game every single day, they're like pretty dead set that there is some type of skill based matchmaking in the warfare side. Operations, I don't think there's really like a skill-based matchmaking system. I think if anything, it's be basing more off of like potential like gear and stuff like that. But I don't even really think any of that applies to the operations. I think it's basically just throwing you in with whoever based off of whether it's easy or normal, and that's really the only filter as far as what I can tell at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel that. At times it feels like there's like gear matchmaking and then, like you said, there's times where I rock gold armor and I run in like yesterday we rocked gold red armor and we didn't run into a single gold player. So
Yeah, it's literally
here.
it's like luck of the draw. Yeah, it's sometimes you
Yeah.
run into like the super sweats, and then other times you feel like your lobby's empty, or you'll wipe one or two teams, and they've got next to nothing or a mix of like blue purple or something like that, and like that's pretty much all you see. And then the next match you run to everyone running gold and red, so it's like
Yeah, when you're in a blue kit.
yeah. Um, so I mean, I think like we were saying with that introduction of that, gear cap on the easy mode, especially for like Zero Dam and Leali, because those are supposed to be, your starting maps for the most part, right? Um,
Yeah.
that'll help out on that end. And then the other thing that they've started to make adjustments on is the time to kill, because I know before this new season started, before they made the armor adjustment and stuff like that, it was almost kind of pointless to run any type of armor unless it was gold or red, because you were getting like shredded in like 2 seconds, so it didn't really matter too much. With this update, they have adjusted it to where, if you're wearing green armor and you're getting hit with blue ammo, the armor is still basically protecting a little bit of that, so you're not getting smacked right out the gate. So that adjustment obviously made the time to kill a little bit better, but there's still plenty of instances where you literally peek, get shot two or three times, and you're pretty much like completely shredded, if not, knocked. So I think they still have to make some adjustments with the armor and ammo. I'm kind of leaning towards with the ammo types. I think you should be able to purchase up to purple, and then gold and red should only be craftable, and you have to find the items to craft in raid. You can't purchase any of that stuff off of the auction house.
Yeah, I think that would definitely like slow it down and even out the player base for sure. Because right now, we don't run into many raids where people don't run gold armor or gold ammo.
Yeah, and I mean, because you obviously like you play a lot more than I do on a a regular basis, and you've got more time in the game, and you've like I said, you've hit that season 1 God of War, and you've played a ton of Tarkov, and if you're kind of taking some of the stuff from Tarkov over to this game, they're both extraction shooters, and that I feel like Tarkov does have a fairly decent balance with armor and ammo in most cases, to where the armor does feel like it matters, but then Tarkov, you also have all the different hitboxes, so you have your face, your neck, your thorax, your ear, like all this stuff that you can hit. So it's like, even if you're wearing some armors, if they're not protecting certain areas, you can still one tap somebody with like the worst ammo in the game. Whereas with Delta Force, they don't have those hitboxes separated out. It's literally, if you're wearing a helmet, your entire head's protected. If you're wearing chest armor, your entire torso is protected. The only thing that's really left out is your arms and your legs, and that's where we're kind of seeing the leg meta coming into play for Delta Force, because a lot of people now, they're like, you know what? Doesn't matter what kind of armor they have on. If I just start shooting legs, I'll probably have a faster time to kill than if I'm trying to shoot chest. So a lot of the times now you're running into the situations where people aren't even shooting you in the chest or the head, they're automatically going for your leg. So I don't know what they're going to really do to address that situation, because obviously there does need to be something for people to be able to do to combat the, higher tier armors if they have worse ammo, to still give a decent time to kill. But I feel like if the time to kill is too fast with hitting limbs and stuff like that, then again, it's going to make it to where armor's almost pointless unless you're always sitting behind cover, or you're always in like a prone or like crouch state to where your legs and stuff aren't exposed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The only real like combat for that is
Yeah, he is kind
um
of low.
really like hiding behind cover. Yeah, like you said, you'd have to stay behind cover 24/7. You'd have to be a Uluru main, bro. Just throw out those walls every time. Cover those legs.
Which, that's the other part too, is that you still have that head glitching situation where, because of the bullets coming out of the top of your head, like your player model, instead of your like chest or the barrel, you have these really stupid situations where people are using those deployable covers, or they're head glitching behind a wall or a crate or whatever it may be, to where normally if the bullet was coming from center mass and not your head, then that wouldn't really be an issue, because yes, they might be able to peek and kind of see, but they can't shoot you because the bullet's going to get blocked by the cover. In this, it's like, okay, you can see a tiny little piece of somebody's head, and they're able to shoot you, and you're trying to hit that little speck because the bullet is literally being shot out of the top of the head of the model, which I don't know why they made that decision, but hopefully that's something that they adjust in the future, because that would pretty much eliminate any of that head glitching stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a dumb. I actually didn't know that they did that until you said that yesterday. The shots out of the head model. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's a terrible. That's a terrible
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I don't know why you would make that decision to do that, but yeah, it doesn't make for a
Sounds
good
like a
time.
bug.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, there's other games that have done it, but then if you really think about it, it's like, why would you want that to be a thing? Because if like any kind of like common sense situation would tell you, like, okay, number one, it's not realistic to have the bullet coming out of the top of the model anyway. Number
Yeah.
two, it's going to create those situations where head glitching is like a big problem, because again, you're giving the person that's shooting at you like a little tiny speck to try to hit, whereas you can shoot them no problem. So it's really giving that head glitch position a big advantage just based off of, they don't have a whole lot to hit. And in all honesty, unless you're using probably like a variable scope or something like that, if you're just using like a red dot, or even if they had like, the 2 times or 3 times, even with those in certain situations, it's probably going to be a pretty hard target to hit, especially if you're getting shot and you have that flinch going on. It's like any kind of little minor movement to your screen is going to make it even harder to be able to hit that person.
Yep. Yeah, that's not a good. They need to make that change, and I'm sure that's not a hard change to make, right? Just like kill cams.
Right. So that leads me into the conversation that we're having yesterday. A lot of this stuff is just from, again, what I've seen from different videos and kind of reading some stuff online and that. But there's obviously some stuff right now with the U.S. government and the Chinese government and certain games and certain companies and stuff being blacklisted, and um, you know certain companies wanting to get off of that blacklist because they're trying to say, they don't have any kind of association to, Chinese military side and stuff like that. But apparently, from what I hear, and again, this is just, speculation, opinion, I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but part of the reason on some of the delays for Delta Force is because Tencent is supposedly one of these companies that got blacklisted, and they're trying to basically like clear their name, but they're kind of holding off on releasing some of these features and that because it may have also affected them somewhat financially. Obviously, Tencent is a massive company, multi-billion-dollar company. They back a lot of games and that, but I really feel like certain things like the easy mode gear cap, kill cams, the release of the console version, like all of that stuff, I feel needs to help, or needs to come along pretty soon, because number one, the console release is going to boost the player base just because you're going to introduce all these new players into the game, which will kind of be like a refresh, just like with you playing New World now with their whole revamp and the console release, and that basically gave like New World a third life cycle, because they had the expansion before, and then they came out with this revamp and stuff like that, and you brought the console release out, so that brought a bunch of new players in, right? So from what I hear, they're kind of ready for the console release to be put out, but they're tweaking the aim assist because they want it to be balanced for both console players and PC, so that you're not running into like Call of Duty aim assist where it's like close to mid range, you're just getting hammered unless you're, you got to be like the one of these like friggin' god gamers that you're just like movement is cracked, you're all over the place trying to break that aim assist. So if that's the actual case, like I'm kind of glad that they're doing that, because hopefully the aim assist is balanced, because that would potentially just kill the game if you got a broken aim assist for console, especially with the time to kill being where it is right now, to where it's still kind of like, you're dead in a couple seconds. Um, but the kill cam side of it, they are beta testing it. I think they're just basically making sure that it's not going to do any kind of weird like game breaking stuff when they release it. So hopefully before the next season comes out, they'll start implementing some of this stuff, because it would really suck if they're going to wait a full 3 months to like implement a kill cam, or implement the hard mode is another one, or the gear cap, because I feel like as long as it's not creating any kind of game breaking bugs or issues, which apparently that's another reason why they delayed the gear cap thing, is because they had some kind of issue with the rollout or something like that, whatever it was doing. So don't know if it's that side of it's true, if it's more or less on this like blacklisting thing that was going on, but um yeah, I mean, I enjoy the game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I feel like they do need to make improvements on a few things, but I can tell you this much: performance-wise and visually, like I've had pretty much zero problems. Like frames seem to always stay pretty good. I don't stutter. I think I've crashed maybe once or twice. So, I mean, performance-wise and stuff, I have no complaints. Visually, I think the game looks great. I think for the most part, like the movement and the gunplay feels good. The modding of the weapons is, it's got enough involved with it to where it's, gives you some complication, but it's not, or complexity, but it's not, like you have 5 million attachments that all kind of do the same thing, and it's just like, attachment diarrhea on your screen. Um, but what's your opinion? Like, how do you feel about a lot of this stuff and where the game is and some of the stuff that we covered?
I feel like the game is in a great state combat wise. Combat wise, in a great state. I love the combat. When you win, you feel like you just made a million fucking dollars IRL, and then when you lose, you feel like your heart just got backstabbed, right? But I feel like some of the quests in this game are a bit copy and paste of other extraction shooters I've played. Like, I feel like they could be way more creative with these quests. I mean, I'm doing some of the quests for leading up to the secure container, and a lot of it just feels copy and pasted from other games. You know what I mean? Um, I enjoy the quest lines in these games. That's what I strive for, and I just really was hoping for some fresh quests, and it feels like the same exact thing that Tarkov did, like almost identical to quests. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'll say kind of the same thing along those lines that you were saying. The quests are kind of almost like a rip directly from the same type of stuff that Tarkov had you doing, and even if you go and you play like Arena Breakout, the quest lines and stuff are pretty much the same as like this and Tarkov, which, to be fair, I mean, it's just like playing an action RPG or like an MMO. If you've played one and done quests, you're probably going to have a lot of similar experiences with other games in that same genre feeling the same, because how much can you really, you know,
Change.
change change it
That
around?
that is a valid point. Yeah, like, what could they do that's different? Quest? I really don't know.
Yeah, especially with a shooter, because I mean, it's literally like, all right, so you're either looting stuff or you're tying it into killing things or a combination of both. So I mean, unless you're doing like crafting quests, which they do have that stuff too. So I do feel like they give you a good mix of like different things to do, but my main
Yeah.
thing is I feel like it was kind of like what happened with Tarkov with the customs quests and stuff like that, right? To where because they only had like customs and factory when they were first like rolling the game out, like 90% of your quests that you were doing were on like one map. So this
Yeah.
game feels like Zero Dam. You can play the game for like 5 days
Yep.
straight, and every single quest you're doing is like, all right, go back to Zero Dam, go back to Zero Dam, go back to Zero Dam, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, now you finally go into Leali, and then you get into like the seasonal quest, and it's like, all right, go back to Zero Dam. It's like, okay, there needs to be a little bit more variation or open it up to where it's like you can do more quests on any map as opposed to like it just has to be Zero Dam or it just has to be Leali, because I feel like in all honesty those two maps probably have the like brunt of the quest, which I do understand because they keep rotating between like Brakesh and Space City with it being open and closed with normal and that, and there's no easy mode, right? So when it's closed, it's
Yeah,
closed. You can't do anything. So you don't want.
I disagree with that as well. I really don't like that. Although I understand they're trying to keep queue times low, but I want to play the map that I want to play.
Correct. I think
Yeah.
once you get that influx of the console players when they do that release, I have a feeling they'll probably change that closing and opening of those maps. But like you said, it's I think due to trying to keep the queue times down that they don't want to have the player base split too much between too many maps because then you're going to be hitting like all right 10-minute queue times for Layali or 15-minute queue times for like Space City. um
Yep.
but I think that stuff will, if the game keeps going in that direction of okay they keep making some positive changes, especially on the operations side. The warfare side, not to sound like I don't know, like anything derogatory towards warfare, but warfare isn't really my type of mode. I know a lot of people wanted to play this game as like the Battlefield replacement, but for me, I enjoyed kind of the Battlefield games, but it was one of those things that it was like I had to be in the mood, right? Like if I wanted to have like those huge, battles and helicopters and tanks and all this stuff going on, I personally prefer more of like what the operation side is to where it's smaller engagements, a little bit more tactical, not just a bunch of like stuff going on and people respawning and all this craziness going on. So I think
Chance to pull a red.
it
Crazy.
yeah, so I think what they're doing for the game on the operation side has been fairly good for the most part. I know people feel differently on the warfare side, but operations I think they're doing all right on. The only other main thing that they need to really somehow get even more of a handle on, and it's hard because every game, especially first person shooters or third person shooters, struggle with, and that is the cheating side of it.
Yup. That's the big question. What do you think about the cheating? You think it's as bad of a pandemic as people say?
So, since they came out with their last update where they were like, all right, now we got like the virtual machine stuff that we're looking at to where people are, spinning up the virtual machines and they have the cheats being ran off of that, so they're even, harder to detect. And they are working with Microsoft on the kernel level side to, kind of try to lock that down a little bit better. To be honest, since I've been playing in this new season, I feel like I haven't ran into as many sus situations where it's like, oh, they just knew exactly where I was, or oh, they were like pre firing or pre aiming and stuff like that. Like, in most cases, from when I've died, I feel like it's just been either they've been, creeping or ratting and they just caught me off guard, or, they were third partying. Um, I'm sure there's still going to be instances where it's like, oh yeah, this guy's just like head tapping like crazy, or they knew exactly where we were without any kind of like hack claw or recon arrow or stuff like that. I'm sure it's not completely been solved, but I at least feel from what I've played so far, I don't think I ran into as many situations where I was like, oh yeah, this person like 100% is cheating. Now
Yeah,
the
I agree.
the
A
issue.
good example is yesterday, bro. Like I remember that sniper. I thought he was hacking for sure, bro, and you put him down like a dog.
Yeah, and this.
I said, "Oh no, that guy's hacking." You said, "Oh, he's down." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, and that's somebody brought up a good point. It was actually in general chat one day that I just happened to read it, which is crazy because most of the general chat in this game is just general chat. We'll put it that way, but
Yeah,
yeah. But they said a lot of people who aren't used to the super quick time to kill may assume that in a lot of situations where the person isn't cheating, but they just like blasted you down, that it was like, oh, he's got to be like aimbotting or something, or he's, they're using ESP. But I can kind of see that too, to where, if they get two shots into your head in most cases, like if they're running good ammo, you're probably going to get knocked. So I mean,
Yeah, if it's of the 7.62 caliber, you're going down if it's gold ammo and two
yeah.
shots to the head.
And I think it's just, we just assume from playing other games where the time to kill is a little bit higher, that any time that you get basically murdered in like 2 seconds, that's like, oh, that dude's like has to be cheating. Like he's got to be hacking, doing something. I think
Yeah.
we're kind of programmed to automatically go to that as like the conclusion automatically, just because we're not used to. Oh, I see it. Oh, I'm dead. You really don't have like that long reaction time. So this game is definitely, if you get caught in a bad spot or unaware, there's a good chance you're going to die in like 2 seconds or less.
Like yesterday, bro. Remember when we saw that dude in the middle of the street, and I was like, "Oh shit, let's push him." And bro, as soon as I pushed him and I realized where we were, I said, "Oh fuck, we're fucked." It's like we're done, bro. We're in the middle of the street now, and they're camping us.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bad situation, bro.
And yeah, some of the stuff is just positioning and getting caught out and stuff like that. And, sometimes you just have like that brain dead moment, like in that situation. For some reason, I also thought that I was playing a character that could smoke, and I'm like bunny hopping around trying to like smoke when you were down. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm playing whoever it was, Viren or whatever. I'm like,
Byron, yep.
yeah, I'm like, oh well, I guess I'm just gonna jump up and down like an idiot and until I die. So I
Yeah,
mean,
bro, this is all bad, bro. That was all bad.
yeah. So I think they're doing a
A
decent
better job.
job. Yeah, we'll say, because you're going off of what you're being told, right? So
Yep.
you don't know if it's legitimately they're banning that many people, or they're doing all this stuff. You're just hoping that the information they're putting out you can trust, because that's all you can really do, right? You can't,
Mhm.
you know you're not going directly to the developer and saying, hey, let me see these like numbers, like give me the actual report, let me see it for real. But
Now, I know it can still be fabricated, but when they do come out with those numbers, they do come out with a list of players too that they ban.
right, um they they also run into the issue with the cheating that makes it harder, to where the game is a free to play game. And this is one of my biggest issues with the free to play games, is that I would almost rather them charge at least like 10 or 20 bucks for the game, because you know what? Even if it cuts down on like a quarter of the people who would cheat because they can just like go spin up another copy or whatever, or another account, like I would rather pay that 10 or 20 bucks to be like, hey, this is kind of like a paywall for like the cheap, cheaters that are like, oh, if I gotta pay this or do that, like I'm gonna screw that, I'm gonna skip it. All right, cool. Well, you're one other person that's not going to be cheating in the game that I have to worry about, right?
Yep, I agree. I agree. They need to. I feel like every free game has that problem that you just stated. So
The cheaper way that they could do it, I saw this suggestion too, is that you could have it to where, like, with Apex Legends, you have to get up to, I think, level 10 to start playing, like the ranked play and stuff like that. So maybe they could implement something to where it's like, oh, your character level has to go up to a certain amount before you can start, you know, having access to certain things in the game or something. I don't know. It'd be kind of hard because of how they have the stuff set up, because you already have those like level caps to doing certain things. But
yeah,
that would be another way to kind of do it, to where you're not forcing people to pay money to kind of have like a little bit of extra potential protection with the cheating. But Look at Tarkov. I mean, Tarkov, you have to pay for that game to play it, and it still has a lot of issues with people cheating and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's also the other side of the coin to where it's like, even if you do pay for stuff, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to solve the problem or even make the problem any better.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't. The only way to stop cheating is to fucking make it illegal.
Right.
Make it punishable by prison time.
Correct. And that's literally where I'd be going with it too, is like you have to have some kind of like hard, either like a fine, like, okay, you may not do jail time, but it's like, yeah, we're going to charge you if you get caught breaking like the terms of service or whatever and you're using these programs, you're going to be fined like $200 or something. It's like, because most people are like, well, I don't want to pay $200 to cheat. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it has to also be enforceable. And the problem is that if you got people in other countries that are doing the cheating and they're using VPNs or whatever that looks like to get into, servers on like the U.S. side or whatever that looks like, you're still relying on another country to also enforce. Yeah, and it's like good luck, right? Especially if these people are playing in like internet cafes or whatever that looks like. It's like you're never gonna get these people, so it's like yeah, good luck. But I think what they can do is they can start leveraging more AI for like real time like scanning and banning and observations. So like once, for example, let's say this player gets reported, 10 times in the run of like a couple hours, right? So that triggers like hey, this is like an investigation. We have to watch this guy, and then somehow either, it's probably not really possible to have like a person assigned to like watch and, study this guy who's playing the game, but have some
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
like monitoring thing to where it's like, okay, based off of XYZ, like we see this is happening. And maybe even if they started doing like some kind of shadow banning where they start shifting some of these like questionable accounts into their own matchmaking, and then they all start getting into the same lobbies together, and then you can start really analyzing, okay, are these guys actually cheating? Are they just like good players? Do they have some lucky moments? And then you can start shifting them around. But it's it's not an easy system to come up with, and I'm sure it's not an easy thing to implement. But I know that's kind of what Call of Duty was doing. Is that if you got flagged, you could basically get into that shadow ban situation where you know you had some weird stuff going on with your account, and then you're like, oh, I guess they shadow banned me, which course, never happened to me because I was never on that kind of like caliber or anything, but that's what I've seen from like YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely had times in COD where I felt like that I was getting in lobbies where it was just like only like sus players, bro. I felt like I was getting shadow banned a lot in Warzone.
Which I would believe that on your end because, like I said, you like pick a game and you generally tend to like hyper focus and grind that game so you get up to that level, and especially if you're just going from shooter to shooter, most of the time those skill sets and stuff are transferring over. So it's like, yeah, you might have to learn some different little like nuances of the game and stuff like that. But for the most part, if you're good with your mouse and keyboard and movement and stuff like that, you should naturally be, going into these games and already playing at like that higher caliber that would potentially put you into that situation.
Yep, that's definitely why I quit Warzone. Too many. It felt like all my lobbies had hackers in it, bro. And it's crazy in Warzone too, because it's different. You have kill cam, so
Right.
when
So,
somebody shoots you and they're like shooting somebody else and just shoots you out of the air, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, get the fuck out of here.
yeah, it's like, or you're getting fucking shot from like halfway across the map, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Yeah, bro, it's like so obvious in that game. That's why I think it would really like ease people's minds in this game if there was kill cam. I know they're working on it, which is good. So
yeah, because we've been going for about 45 minutes or so, so I don't want to drag this out for too long, but they they definitely need to make sure that they do keep a hold on the cheating in that though, because that was one of the things that put the nail in the cycle frontier was they had a cheating problem and it took them forever to really start finally addressing it. I mean, you'd load in. There was people that were running God mode, like you couldn't kill them, you just shoot them over and over and over, and nothing. They
yeah, I
were,
played the shit out of that game.
yeah, you'd spawn in and literally get instantaneously shot by somebody running like an SMG from like the other side of the map and just getting beamed in the head. So I mean,
Uh huh.
it took them so long to get like a new season rolled out when they had that long extended, what was it, season 2 or whatever, and then doing all this stuff. It was like they had a gold mine and they could have literally made that game into like a spectacular extraction shooter, but they dropped the ball on it. And I'm really hoping that with this game they really take the feedback from the player base and implement a lot of the stuff that makes sense, and they do keep up with like the cheating stuff and they do keep making improvements, because I think this could be a top contender between like Tarkov and, this and whatever else rolls out, down the line. But I just feel like this is a more casual, fun, like kind of faster paced extraction shooter in comparison to Tarkov.
Yep.
And they can kind of exist in the same space because Tarkov is still that more like hardcore, like, mill sim, even though they're kind of getting away from that somewhat too, but it's still in that, hardcore sense. Whereas this one's a little bit like lighter, which is what I liked about the Cycle Frontier. But again, only time will tell. But game plan is that I'm gonna try to do this more often with like you and pull some more people in for these little like Sunday weekend whatever podcast type
I'm
get-togethers.
down. We'll start doing them Sunday morning.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks is that I don't have every Sunday off, so it's like
Copy.
yeah. But all right, so with that being said, I'm gonna cut that there. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully get the next one out here. Not in 4 years like my last New World video.